Now, what is Employee Central? We learned about Employee Central. Employee Central is a success factor solution which helps maintain employee and organizational data. Okay, now Employee Central maintains the employee information as well as the organizational information. Now, what is employees information? It can be your personal information like your first name, last name, middle name, salutation, gender, okay, the education, the national ID information. So this is all the employees' personal information as well as your organization information. Organization information is nothing but the employee working for some X company in X location, in X department. So this is on a position called manager with a salary of this. So this is all your organizational information. So this data is maintained in Employee Central. So Employee Central will manage all of an employee's life events. Life events are nothing but your transactions. What are transactions? Generally, your hiring is a transaction or an event. Okay, your promotion is an event, transfer is an event, suspension is an event, termination is an event. So all these things are taken care in Employee Central. Employee Central. So Employee Central is org chart centric, and all employees information can be found by going through the org chart. Now, employee must be reporting to a manager, and the manager must be reporting to some other manager. So this is maintained in the org chart. Okay, now when employee raises a request, let's say I'm an employee and I'm going on leave, I should inform my manager about my leave. So I should apply for a leave in the system, and manager would be approving the leave request. Okay, now similarly, if there are any other requests, so I need to inform my manager. Now, who is my manager? That manager is stored in your org chart. Looking at the org chart, we'll come to know who is reporting to whom. Okay, and managers can click on quick card icon and go to employees personal and employment information, give them a promotion. Now, what can a manager do? Manager can either approve the request that I have raised, that employee has raised. Let's say an employee has raised a leave request. Manager will go and approve that request. Apart from that, manager may have to transfer the employee from one location to other location, one department to another department. Manager may have to promote the employee. Now, employee's designation is trainee. Okay, tomorrow if the employee is to be promoted to executive, that can be done by either HR or by a manager. Okay, we'll see that. Now, that's a brief about the success factors and cloud computing. Okay, do we have any questions? Feel free to ask me any kind of questions that we have discussed so far. If you don't have any questions, we'll go and see the application once. Now, what we'll be covering in this course of SuccessFactors Employee Central. Since Employee Central module is the core for SuccessFactors. Core for, it is not because I am teaching Employee Central, it is important. No, it is important because it is a core module in SuccessFactors. One should have employee data in place before using it in any of the module. Okay, now how do we access success factors? Success factors can be accessed through a URL. Through a URL. Okay, now this course, to learn this course, it takes 1 month to cover all the topics in Employee Central. And then every day we'll have 1 hour session. We'll be discussing about the topics in SuccessFactors Employee Central, and then I'll be giving you assignments to complete after the session. Then you can practice, and then you can come back with your doubts, if any, the next class. Okay, when we start, before starting up the session, the next session, I would be asking you for any of the doubts or clarifications that you have. We go through that. If you feel that I have to explain it again or I have to take up the session again, I will take that session again and will continue. Okay, this is how the training goes on. Everything is practical. First initial 3 or 4 sessions would be on theoretical, but from there it will be the practical. Now every day we'll be working on system on the live scenarios. I'll be providing you the complete material. You don't have to worry about, you don't have to Google anything, or you don't have to worry about the material. I will provide you all the material that is required to learn SuccessFactors Employee Central. Okay, now whatever that I teach, I'll be giving you the material as well. Now, to work on SuccessFactors, you need to be a certified consultant. Okay, so certification is mandatory for all the consultants who are willing to work on SuccessFactors. Now, what is this certification and what do we have? Okay, now I'll be explaining about certification in details in one of the session. Okay, because certification is mandatory, and there are two types of systems or two types of instances in SuccessFactors. One is called the provisioning and second is called the instance. Now the system what I've logged in is called an instance. Now I'll be giving you the access for this instance. Okay, and then the second would be your provisioning, and I will not be giving you access for this provisioning. Okay, but you need to have an understanding of the provisioning as well. You need to know about the provisioning. What is provisioning and what do we do in provisioning? Now, initial 10% of your configuration is done in provisioning. That means you enable all the functionalities required in provisioning. Once you do that in provisioning, you would see the functionalities or the configurations here in instance. Now, we'll have a detailed session on provisioning and instances. Now, how to access it, how do you get access for provisioning? Okay, only the certified consultants will have access to provisioning. I am certified. Now I'll be given access of provisioning with my certification ID. Okay, so it is not advisable, or it cannot be given for all the persons who are getting trained in SuccessFactors. Now you'll get access to this instance, but not for the provisioning. However, I'll be showing you how to log into the provisioning, what are the functionalities in provisioning, what we do in provisioning. Okay, only the 10% of the configuration, the initial configuration, is done in provisioning. Okay, now who are the target audience? Now you must have got a doubt. Okay, who can learn SuccessFactors? Anybody, okay, who want to, okay, be or who want to get into SuccessFactors, okay, now can do this course. There is no prerequisite for this. Only thing that is required is an understanding of the HR processes. Okay, so education can be anything, like maybe a degree or a BTech or an MBA or a postgraduate, whatever the postgraduate. Okay, so you can be it can be for anybody. There's nothing like you need to be an engineer or you need to have a background of BTech with electronics or electrical. So it is not like that. So anybody can do this course, but you should have an understanding of your HR processes. Okay, now the other products like SAP or Oracle, okay, you will have different roles, like a technical consultant or a functional consultant or a workflow consultant. Okay, now you don't have these many roles in SuccessFactors. We only have one role called functional consultant who will be handling all these things. Now, whatever the customization that has to be done in the product, that is done by functional consultants. In SAP, generally, you have ABAP or technical consultant who would be customizing or who would be developing the screens or developing the objects in system. But here in SuccessFactors, the functional consultant will be handling that role as well. We don't have separate workflow consultants. We don't have separate basis consultant to look after the servers. Okay, we only have one role called functional consultant, and each consultant will be a module specific. Now that means if we have Employee Central will have 2 or 3 consultants, and then PMGM you'll have one consultant, compensation you'll have one consultant, LMS you'll have one consultant. Depending upon the size of the organization, size of the client, you may have 1 or 2 consultants in each module. Okay, that's about the role of a consultant in SuccessFactors. Okay, we'll have only one role. Now, maybe you have one more role called the integration consultant. Okay, who would be looking after the integration or interfaces between the SuccessFactors and the legacy system or any other system which is being used by the client. Okay, now I have I'm a client and I'm using SuccessFactors, and back end I have one more system, SAP or any other system, where I'll be using some other modules. Since SuccessFactors is a HRS product, I'm using finance, FICO in SAP, or material management, or a sales SD. So I'm using some other modules in SAP. Now I can integrate SuccessFactors with any other application, be it SAP or Oracle or any other application. It can be integrated with the other products. Now for this integration, you need to have an integration consultant like Dell Boomi consultant or a HCA consultant. Okay, now this is your login page of the application. Now you can do it is a very easy to understand, easy to configure. Now you must have got doubt what is no when the product is already built. I've told you that software as a service in SaaS, the product is already built. Now, what will we do as a consultant? What will we do for the client? It is already built. Now the system is built keeping in mind for all the clients across the globe, and every client's requirement is different from others. Okay, now SuccessFactors has given a provision of creating a department. Now it is up to the client what departments they have. Now one client has got 10 departments like your sales, production, finance, okay, HR, admin, payroll, recruitment. Like this we have 10 departments. Now I have one more client who has got only 5 departments. So you don't have to create all those departments that are created for that company. So it depends upon your client's requirement, what departments are to be configured, what companies are to be configured, whether if they want to use the position, okay, what are the positions or what are the designations? They want to use time off, they want to use payroll. Okay, so all these things need to be configured. Now system has got the feasibility of adding all this data. Now I'll say I'm a client and I want to have dependent data, I want to have education data, I want to have qualification data, or I want to have national IDs. So client B may say that I'm not bothered about employees dependent information, or I am not bothered about employees education or qualification details in system. So we don't have to configure all those things for that client. So these things are done by functional consultants. Now every client want to have the application in their own theme. Now I want to have my logo at the right hand side top corner, right hand side corner, or I want to my client want to have logo on this side, or client want to have the logo in middle. Okay, client want to have this color, the red as the color, or some pictures on the screens. So all these things can be configured by consultants. Now, it is very easy to configure. You have a global search bar here. You can search for any navigation or for any employee. So I'll be taking you through all these things, okay, in detail. What can we do in system? How do we do that in system? Now, if you look at the course content, what will be covered as part of Employee Central training in this 30 days. Okay, we have the basics of cloud computing and basics of success factors. What is the role of professional consultant? What is the role of a professional success factors consultant? And then you have the methodology. Every application that is developed, that is configured, or that is implemented for the client will go through some methodology. So what is that methodology that we follow for success factors implementation? Okay, and what are the steps to be taken care while doing the implementation? And now we have several URLs which would be using in our daily life. Okay, so what are those URLs? Okay, what is upgrades? Okay, what are the upgrades that happens in system? How often are the upgrades happen in system? So how do these how upgrades happen in system? So we'll discuss about these things. And then your success factors terminology, slowly we'll be moving into success factors terminology, like your instance, provisioning, or org chart, position, org chart, manage data. So what are these terms or the terminology? Okay, and then your implementation sequence. Now there is a sequence to be followed while implementing the success factors, and it is recommended by success factors. So we look at the sequence. And then introduction to your instance, your provisioning. Okay, what do we do in instance? What do we do in provisioning? Okay, what settings are done in provisioning? Now, when every user will be given a password and the user ID. Now, the password, some clients say that in my for my employees, the password should contain alphabets. Password should contain alphanumericals, or password should contain a special characters. Now, these settings can also be done in success factors. Okay, and then your manage action search, where you can search for your employees, where you can search for the navigations, configurations. So how do we do that? Okay, you can set up the now let's say if you're going to use this navigation every day, you can set up that navigation as your favorites. So how do you set up your favorites? How to access your favorites? Okay, and then when once you got used to the system, now you have a data model. We have a concept called data models, which are in the XML language. Now, you don't have to write thousands or hundreds of lines of code, but you need to understand what is there in the data models. So we have basically we have 7 data models, but currently we have only 4 data models in system. We'll see each of the data model. What is what are those data models, and how are they used in Employee Central? Okay, so I'll give you a good understanding of XML. Don't worry. At the end of the session, at the end of the training, you'll be able to change the XMLs on your own. Don't worry about that. Okay, and then we have foundation objects, and then MDF objects and the generic objects. Now, foundation objects are nothing but your objects that are required to build up the organization structure. You need a company, you need a location, you need divisions, you need departments. So all these things are called, all these objects are called foundation objects or MDF objects. So how do you configure them? How do you create them? How do you maintain them? Now, personalizing the instance means, now if your client want to have their own theme in the system, so everybody uses the same application, but your client want to have the system to have it in their own way or in the own color or the theme. So you can have the theme or logos, okay, as per your client's requirement. Okay, and then your introduction to org chart. Now, how the org chart is maintained. Now, if you look at the system, you can go to the org chart and see how an org chart looks like, how which employee is reporting to whom. Okay, you can see the entire org chart of the organization. This employee is reporting to Charles Brown. Okay, of all these employees are reporting to Christine, and these are the employees reporting to Michael. So this is the org chart. Now, what is org chart? How do you configure this org chart? Okay, now you can take this printout, okay, or you can take a soft copy of it using PDF or JPEGs. Okay, so what is org chart? How do you configure org chart? And we also have position org chart. You can also see similarly the position org chart. So how is this position org chart configured? What all objects are used in position org chart? Okay, all these things can be, how do you create positions? How do you create lower level positions? How do you create peer positions? All these things can be seen. And then you have import. Now, if you have only little configuration or little data to be maintained, then you can manage through manual feeding of data. But when you have thousands of records to be updated in system, or bulk data to be loaded into the system, then we have a concept called import and export. Either you can export the data that you have in system into Excels, or you can import bulk data into system. Now I have 20,000 employees to be loaded into system initially. I can do that using Excel. So we'll see how to import or how to export employee data. Okay, and then how do you add employee? If you have workflows, like when you're transferring the employee, you should have some approval process. You should go through some approval process, like first level manager should approve, second level HR should approve, third level finance should approve. Okay, how these workflows are configured. Okay, and what is employee self-service? What is manager self-service? Generally, if uh, if it is employee self-service, now employee logs into the system. What an employee can see in the system? What an employee can do in the system? Employee can look at his own information. Employee can edit some of his own information, and employee can only see some information. Like pay slips, employee can only see. Like the salary details, employee can only see his own data, but he or she cannot edit his own data or some others data. What can a manager do? Manager can, apart from this, the activities performed by employee, since manager is also an employee of the organization, manager has got some additional responsibilities or additional permissions. It means he has to approve the request, he has to request the transfers, he has to promote the employees. So these are all covered in managed service, managed self-service. And then you have data change workflow. So how do you change the data of the employees? And if you have approval process, how to take care of that approval process. Okay, and then you have role-based permissions, which is very important in Employee Central. Now, what is role-based permission? As per role, you will be given some permissions. Now, I am an employee, I'll have some permissions. Okay, I can only see others data, other employees data. I can not edit employees data. I can edit my own data. I can view my data, but I cannot edit others. So that is covered in RBP. Okay, as an employee, I can do this. Now, as a manager, I may have some additional permissions. As a HR, I'll have some additional permissions. So all these things are covered in RBPs. Okay. And then finally, we have a pick list management, where you maintain all the pick lists. Like if you go to salutation, you'll have Mr., Mrs., okay, Miss, okay, so on. So these are all in drop down. So how do you maintain them? Or if you go to education, you will see in the drop down 10th class, intermediate, or master's, PG, or BTech. Okay, so these are all called drop downs, and these can be maintained in pick list. So how do you maintain that? Okay, that covers the pick list management. And then your reports. Okay, if you have to pull out reports from system, how do we do that? How do you create new reports? How do you share it with others? How do you extract files from system? In what mode you extract the data? So all these things are covered as part of the Employee Central sessions. Okay, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask me. So nothing is left in Employee Central except for the time management, which is a different module. Or don't get confused. Time management is different from your Employee Central. Employee Central, it only takes 30 days to learn. And then time off, you'll have another 20 or 25 days. And then your payroll, if you want to learn payroll, you'll have separate 20 or 25 sessions on the payroll. Okay, this is only for your employee central.